Hey everybody, Grest here. So you guys know that I'm a really huge fan of Cloud Defensive and the Rein line of flashlights for weapons and whatnot. And so here you can see is the Rein Micro, and this is actually the first generation. So the second generation just came out. So let's compare the two and see how it stacks up. All right, so here we have the first generation Cloud Defensive Rein Micro flashlight. I also have a full size as well. Here you can see it's mounted on an air socket mount, and this is their clear anodizing finish, and it's a really beefy light, puts out a really good beam, has pretty high lumens as well. So let's go ahead and take a look at the new Rein Micro 2.0 version. So here's the box that it comes in, and a little disclaimer is the packaging actually is the 1.0 version packaging. They wanted to get the second version out and they didn't want to wait on the packaging, or figured, you know, I personally don't really care about the packaging. I'm more concerned about what comes in the packaging itself. So here is that guy, and this time I ordered it in FDE. This is probably going to go on my Brownell's exclusive Geisley Super Duty rifle. So you can see a very nice anodized finish in FDE. They offered these in black, FDE, OD green, and I believe they also had the clear anodized finish as well. This time I decided to order it with the pressure switch. Actually, I think this was standard. You had to get the pressure switch this time. So I'm not usually a fan of pressure switches, but I figured what the heck, I'll go ahead and try it out. So let's look at the other stuff that comes in the box. So you have the mounting assembly for the pressure switch. You have a Picatinny rail attachment for the light body. And I'm not gonna end up using this. I do have a different mount that's coming. You have the battery box, and then all Cloud Defensive come with a night core charging system. So this is a dual battery charging system. So I got a bunch of these already, and you know, they work pretty good. Then of course it comes with a Cloud Defensive sticker. So pretty cool sticker there. And your operating instructions. So I'll be honest with you, I am not one to typically read the operating instructions, and I'll get to that a little bit more here in just a second. So let's go ahead and compare the size difference between the new 2.0 version and the 1.0 version. So you can see here the body overall is pretty dang close, but the head, that's pretty much where all the differences lie. I mean, you can see it looks like the LED in there is about the same size, but the projector is a little different. I do like, I will say so far, I do like the kind of knurling on the lens cap there. It's totally smooth on the 2.0 version. I think this might be a little more robust. You can ram it into stuff and don't gotta worry about it. This here, I mean, it does look nice, but it does look a little less robust, if you will. So the tail cap is pretty much identical. It does have this 4-position selector. Okay, so you can rotate that guy around. And of course I have the pressure switch on the new Rein 2.0. And overall, I can tell you right off the bat, it does feel a little lighter, and I will put the specifications up on the screen so you guys can kind of do a little bit of a comparison rather than boring you with all the details. But overall, it does look like a nice light. And Cloud Defensive is known for being very robust, and they have a very good warranty as well. So let me talk about a couple of the things that I kind of found out with this iteration of the Rein that I didn't really know about with the original ones, but it also applies to these as well. And again, kind of back to reading instructions. So when you get your new Cloud Defensive Rein flashlight, the battery is not installed. So here I'm going to go ahead and pull the light head off. Pull the battery out as well. So you're going to have a little disclaimer that's in there. It says use only the specified batteries, which are 18350 batteries. Any other batteries will void your warranty. Don't mess this up. And if you look in there, you can see that you have a battery jacking device there in orange. Hopefully this will pick up on camera fairly well. And then you have the spring assembly from your tail cap here. So let me go ahead and unscrew this. Of course, everything is O-ring sealed for water resistance. So here's the main body itself. They tell you to take your new battery and put it inside of here. And you can see that on the light head itself, this is also spring loaded. And you screw this thing on, and they say that you should have a little bit of rattle of the battery. Okay, so I don't know if you guys can hear that. Okay, and what you got to do is take the battery jack here and kind of thread this guy in. And you can use a tip of a pen or a bullet tip or something like that. You're supposed to thread it in until it is just tight. You can hear a little bit of rattle right there, and if I screw this guy in just till it's tight. All right, so now on to the switch assembly here. So the switch assembly is actually in multiple parts here. You got the collar on the end right here that actually holds the switch assembly into the tail cap like so. So this is just a hollow piece of metal there. So you go ahead and put this in. You're going to take the collar for the tail switch, screw that in, make sure it's good and tight, like so. And then you can take your assembled tail switch and thread it on to the rest of the body. Okay, make sure everything's very tight. And then your light should work. Of course, that's with the tail switch. And then if we look at the tape switch, I have the always on, and then of course I have the momentary on. All right, so here's one of the things that I learned. Assembly is very important on this guy. It is easy to screw it up. I kind of learned this. A good friend of mine purchased one of these on my recommendation as well, and he was having a heck of a time getting it to work. So after kind of dissecting this thing, and I did reach out to Cloud Defensive, I did hear back from them, so good on them for giving me some information to troubleshoot. But essentially what it has to do with is this battery jack in here, okay? So if this thing, you would think that tighter is better. But if you jack this thing in too far, okay, let's see, that's probably about right. So you can see how many threads. I mean, I'm hanging on the last couple threads. If you put this down too far, and you put this thing together, and it's tight, there's no rattle, and you put this guy on here like so, everything's tight as it can be, this thing will not work. So here's the tape switch. Okay, it doesn't work. This is what happened with my friend that purchased one of these, is that the battery jack was screwed in a little too far, and you know, you're thinking that the battery should be making the tightest contact possible, but when it's screwed in too far, it doesn't make good contact. So now let me show you the other side of this. So if I pull this thing back apart, I'm trying not to make this too long. Okay, so I'm gonna jack that battery jack back, put this guy back together. All right, so too far. Yeah, see how this tail cap assembly here, if it's not screwed all the way on there, you don't get good contact and this stuff doesn't work. All right, so you have to screw that thing on there, and you can, yeah, it's not rattling too bad. I think I got that battery jack out about as far as I can get it. You can see it comes on just momentarily, and then too far out and it doesn't work at all. So you gotta be very careful about this. So like I said initially, what I learned, and this is what I got from Cloud Defensive as well, is that this battery jack assembly has to be perfect. And I suspect that this has something to do with mitigating connection issues during recoil. Okay, so you just tighten this thing up until you hear no more rattle. Okay, not too tight, and then you can put this thing together and it should work good. So anyways, hopefully everybody learned something from this. I sure did as well. I'll do a quick beam comparison between the two just so you guys can see it, give you my final thoughts. All right, so here's the Rein 1.0 micro. Okay, so you can see there, very nice hot spot, definitely compared to some of my other flashlights that I own. And you can see a good bit of spillover there, pretty good edge. This thing should reach out pretty far. And then here is the new Rein 2.0. All right, so you can kind of see a little bit more of a kind of a halo around the hot spot on this particular light. And but the edges are still really well defined. So I'm gonna bring back in the 1.0, and I would say the hot spots are pretty similar in size, but it does appear that the 2.0 over here on the right hand side does have a little bit of a cooler white light rather than a warmer light. So for what that's worth, but I would say the throw is pretty dang similar to these guys. All right, so what do I think about these two lights right here? I think they're both freaking awesome. The 2.0 does have the edge as far as the little bit less weight and a little bit narrower diameter light head on it. The bodies are essentially the same though, as far as the shape, the size, that sort of thing. And of course the tail caps are also the same. I do kind of miss the knurling on the original one, and then also on the light head itself. I do like these kind of scallops here. Looks like, you know, you could crash it into something, not have to worry about it. Whereas the new one does have a smooth ring like that. All right. But I don't think you can go wrong with either one of these. Cloud Defensive is definitely a stand-up company. They do a great job at their products and testing. Really happy with their products, so I will continue to recommend them. Just understand with the installation, there are a couple things you gotta kind of keep in mind there. All right, appreciate everybody watching today's video and subscribing, liking, all that good stuff. And any questions or comments, please put them down below, and I will catch you on the next video. Y'all take it easy.